Greetings, folks. What is going on? Jason Damico here again with the Jason Damico Show. Thank you all for tuning in. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the notification bell right there. And this guest coming up is just a riot. Met this guy earlier in 2019, and we've just been doing some cool projects together, and uh, just hilarious. So many great stories already. Only knowing him for about a year. Our guest graduated from SCAD out of I believe Savannah, Georgia, in 1997. Became a middle school art teacher for almost 2 years. And aside from that, I mean, this guy is just so well connected in the film industry. He's freelance DJing gigs with the DJs of America. He's into photography. He's into videography. He writes songs. Currently producing a couple of films. Working on a country EP right now. Involved with his company Wynn Entertainment. And yeah, just awesome stuff. Please welcome to the show my very good friend, Mr. Brian Wynn.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Jason.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom. That's what I'm known for now. Boom, boom.
So, man, and I don't know if we'll get into that story at some point. Hilarious. But before we get going, you've just got such a great outlook on life, very positive. I've always been inspired by your attitude, and before we get into things, I just wanted to say thanks for just your positive vibes. I really enjoyed getting to know you over the last year or so on various projects.
Pleasure, honor to get to know you, sir. Got a lot going on, man. You inspire me too. So everybody,
well, thanks, man. You kind of froze a little bit there. We'll see how well this internet holds up. But beginning stages for you. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into college for kind of the creative, and then starting your own business. Major influences, just kind of those bullet points for you.
Sure thing. All right. Well, let's see. It all started way back. Let's see. Kind of like in 1989. We ended up growing up in North Carolina. He came to Wake Forest when actually the college was in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Got ordained as a minister, and myself and my sister and everything else were born. And we got a chance to kind of be Rugrats. He was a gym football coach, health athletic director, as well as Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's where he felt he ended up giving back the most instead of having his own church, which he did for a small time. But he said that he didn't feel was his calling. He wanted to be with sports and everything else, and he thought he could give back to the kids as well with that. So he would. My sister and I got to grow up as Rugrats, running around with all the in the gyms, and so we got to watch everything growing up, from the drama departments to all the I guess you'd say gymnastics and football, basketball. So we grew up as water boys, water girls, and watching all the drama and the wrestling, and we just were kind of outgoing. Well, more so I was. So I got to do a lot of acting, and I put my sister to work. So I kind of was a director and a writer at a young age. From about 6 to 10, I was writing my own little scripts and telling my sister what to do, and she did it. So it was kind of fun. I was like, hey, I'm like, go do this, go do that, and she would. It's cool to have a younger sister kind of does everything you tell her to do sometimes. Then she grew up, and it wasn't the same deal anymore. But she said, yeah, you go be your own crazy self. So I got to learn and step into those shoes and kind of take my own lead. But both my sister and I growing up, and my dad would talk about us in his health and gym classes, which was pretty tough coming through middle school and high school when everybody knew who the coach's kid. So being kind of shy and embarrassed, kind of came out of the shell there in high school, moved into that. So from elementary, being in choir and doing performances and stuff like that, and just trying to be as outgoing as possible. Jumped into that in middle school and got in the choir. Loved that. Started to do some of the drama. Didn't really jump into that until I got into high school. But played sports because Dad was the coach, so played football and basketball and soccer. And then it got tough when you get into high school and you're like, what? You're in the choir? No, you're playing football, dude. You can't go sing. You're going to need to be on the line as a defensive back. You need to be as a guard in offense, and you're just going to be playing. You can sing later. Singing, that's not, that's whatever. I was like, well, I love drama too, and there's a lot of drama on the football field. But, if things could whisper, they had it tough. I was saying, get out there, and all these words come out. And after that, it's like, all right, well, let's pray, God. Everybody will win this thing. And you guys, let's knock this out of the park. So I got to see the best of both worlds. Yeah.
What so your transition from the high school years into college, because you had some like graphic design background during those years. Am I correct?
That is correct. I got into that when I went into high school. Started doing graphics, and then we also did more of, I guess it's technical drawing, and got into that along with all my painting and art classes, which I got really good vibes on that. A lot of people were paying me to do portraits and paintings. Even my principal had me commissioned me to do a large portrait of one of his favorite albums from one of his bands, with all the kids looking into a little crystal ball. And he commissioned me, and I was like, really? I mean, I just thought I was decent, but got that and got paid a good amount of money from the principal. I was like, oh my goodness, this might be something for me. As well as took some modeling and acting classes my senior year in high school, which kind of brought me, the genie out of the bottle. Once he comes out, there's just no putting him back in. So got to do it with some of the modeling agencies. Went to the Southern Women's Home Show. Got to be on the stage for thousands of people there. Also got to go and do stuff at the fair. And so once they started putting me out from the chorus when we go and sing in a group to being an individual on the stage and like singing songs and dancing around and creating your own persona and having people just go wild and look at you like, oh, wow, they're cheering for me? Are you kidding? I'm like, I'm eating this up. So I was like, I had a chance to end up going on tour with a gentleman named Todd Fortune, who was Michael J. Fox's understudy for Bright Lights, Big City. There was two other ones. They also did the very first, I believe, Back to the Future as an actor. And he looked just like him. Same height, same age. And he took off of that. He asked me to go on with him back in 1991, 92-ish time to go traveling and sing. He was going to be a rapper because that's how he got his thing. They started E-Entertainment, basically. The guys that were filming with him sold that and created E-Entertainment Video, which is still online. The very first black and white rap video that he did. It's called Rhyme Vigilantes, and you can look it up on YouTube.
I've heard of that.
Vigilantes.
Yeah,
it's awesome. They sold that for millions of dollars and created E-Entertainment after making that one video. But he wanted me to go with him and do similar to like what Kid Rock came out, and that's what launched that. It was not ready at the time he was trying to do this. He was with Jerry Mathers from Leave It to Beaver. He was being produced by him and put out there as the Bag Boys was the name of the company. And they were going to go travel around Europe. And he had some music stuff, and he was going to be the white rapper going around and singing. And he wanted me to come out and sing country music in the middle, kind of like the subs. You come out there, you do it with your cowboy hat, the boots, and you do your you want. And we're going to sell this and travel all around Europe and make it real big. And I'm like, I don't think they're ready for this in 1992, 93 of traveling and rapping and country and blending it all together. We had other stuff. But good thing is, my folks said, look, you got to go to college first. I mean, where do you want to go? I said, NC State. I went and looked at Appalachian, and I love the mountains. I went to the beach down in Wilmington. Love the beach. But when I went to Savannah College of Art Design and went down there and saw that they had all these movies coming up, I was like, this is where I want to go. So I went there initially for drama and everything else. Story short, I'm glad I went to the college because later I found out that instead of postponing it, Todd's dreams fell through because Jerry Mathers came down. He got sent to Betty Ford, and everything fell apart, and he had to put all those dreams that he had on hold. But yet his story became really big later, where he made millions, and he's now out there doing entertainment and everything else as well. But he did it in the credit card business back in the day. But me, I ended up going to college, and they were filming Forrest Gump when I ended up getting there to Savannah College of Art and Design. So Tom Hanks had just come off of the movie Philadelphia, and I thought he was dying. I had not seen Philadelphia at that time, and he had come straight from there to film Forrest Gump, and I was like, that's Tom Hanks. I've seen him on TV and other movies, but he looks like he's dying. And lo and behold, that was kind of the part he just got off of playing. He was dying in that movie with Denzel Washington. So they had blocked our college off, and I got to live in the dorm. They were filming for like 2 months, and they had blocked off where we couldn't go by and get our school supplies because it was going through their set. And, Forsyth Park and all these other places they were filming at. But you got to see, all these great folks coming back and forth. Kevin Spacey, got to go in. I was taking a photography class that freshman year with a black and white Pentax camera. And I went around taking all these little snapshots and pictures of the set and me and my selfies back then because the cameras.
Right.
I got to get my selfies in, even though they're black and white, a little blurry. But, I got
selfies before
shots.
They were called selfies.
They were called, I was the first, well, not the first one, but I tried it with those cameras and turned around trying to get me in the shot.
Right.
I learned my lenses that way. So back in the day.
Yeah.
So I got shots with Kevin Spacey and John Cusack, and then Jude Law. That's where he made his big debut. Well, not with that, but there was another movie that came in right when I was graduating. Clint Eastwood filmed his movie in The Midnight of Good and Evil, which had Kevin Spacey, John Cusack, and I got all that shot too. So Savannah was a really great place to come through, and I took graphic design there. I took computers, were just starting to become really big then. Toy Story had just been released with animation after the Listerine. They were all done on the Apple Mac, and then they had just some of the regular old little painting computers that they had, like the Amiga. Oh my God, these older computers like the Amiga that had the first drawing and paint type of deal besides the little Apple computers that had come out. And that's what we were learning was graphic design on the Apples. This is kind of cool. I was still doing my drawings and my painting. They were about a year out once I got there. I didn't know that. But they were under renovations to renovate this whole big drama facility that was really old, but they said it'd be about a year before they could fix it, before they would even have a certification for that as a drama course.
Right.
So I was like, I gotta wait. Oh man. So, but I did do all the art, the painting, the drawings, the airbrushing, and got a chance to do a lot of stuff with the churches when I was down there, since I lived on Wilmington Island. My second year, and I helped out with the First Baptist Church of the Islands and taught a lot of the kids and built all the backdrops and painted and taught some music.
Wow.
The first time I actually taught some kids some basic piano and singing. So that was really exciting for me to teach like the 10-year-olds all the way up to like 16 and 18 to see if they wanted to go to college to do that kind of stuff. And they kind of looked up to me, which was kind of interesting, as being a college person and enjoying all the good stuff. But, that's always loved singing and drama, but that stuff back in high school, being in the modeling agency and getting out there on a stage in front of thousands of people was awesome. I mean, there's like no other rush of getting sick before you go out on stage. Yeah. But I mean, when you're out there, everything just kind of clears up, and you're like, dude, I'm on the show. This is cool. So you turn it on just like that, and I have to turn it off when you walk off stage. I was like, they like me. They really like me. I was like, I love that with Jim Carrey from The Mask. But I mean, that's
right.
Right.
Well, so your transition. So after you graduated, at what point did you start working as a teacher? And if you could talk a little bit about that, because I remember we talked, and the kids just really loved working with you, and you made learning a lot more fun than the traditional school confines have curriculum set up.
Correct. So right when I graduated in 1997, like I said, they just finished Midnight of Good and Evil, and I got to meet Clint Eastwood. That was a real dream, to meet that tall guy, and like, dude, this is, hey, Dirty Harry. But I kind of had the bug for the acting once I graduated, and I was like, it was just still too expensive because everything was still done with emulsion and film, and that's one reason why I decided to bring it at college, because it would have been twice as expensive. It was already expensive enough. So after I graduated, I'd always had that passion for singing, because I always did that in the church, helped out with others, played the guitars, everything else in college with a lot of friends, just kind of learning from them. And then I got out, I graduated, I moved back to Raleigh from Savannah. And I said, well, let me look into some stuff. First, I tried out for CNN. That was the first thing I did, was send some stuff in. And in Atlanta, I got a job, well, at least an interview. So I went and I interviewed, and it was really cool. Got to meet a lot of folks there. But in the long run, things didn't really work out for the CNN job. It was kind of an intern thing, and you work your way up. So I came back, and for some reason, I wanted to do some singing. I thought that, hey, man, fresh out of college, 22, let me see if I can end up I looked at an ad in the paper. They were looking for like some doo-wops. The people go around and sing. And then I found another ad that also was looking for like people who wanted to be singers, come up to basically the mountains. And this guy has worked with Dolly Parton and a bunch of other people to help get you into that type of a climb a chart type of deal. He was ready to put you in a few songs and try to get you in a list of the top 100 or top 200, and then slowly move you up with songs that they had to help move you in to see how you. So I tried that out. I actually went up there, and they wanted me to pay $3,000 to $4,000 to come in and do some, their songs, and he was going to work it in. I'm like, I love performing, but I was like, dude, is this for real? Is it just not? And for some reason or another, I signed a contract and everything else for that. As it was my first record contract set up, but I can't say it was a real deal that I felt.
Right.
So both
a little one-sided. Yeah. It's like pay for play or pay for promotion.
That was what it was. I got some lawyers and basically dissolved it. So it didn't work anymore. I got away from that, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit because I really did want to give singing a shot. I thought, hey, if I'm young, let's go out there and give it all I've got and see what kind of happens there. But never gave up completely, but put that to the side. And lo and behold, I went and saw my old principal, the one I did the painting for that he paid me for. And he's like, Brian, have you ever thought about being a teacher? I said, well, both my parents were kind of teachers, and I don't know. I mean, I'm looking around right now, graphic design jobs and other stuff are kind of like in my set. So, well, Brian, you don't have a teaching degree, but you could go in laterally if you wanted to do that. I'm like, well, what the heck? I'm not working right this second. And I said, your starting pay is like how much? And you're getting all this with it? I'm like, right. Let's try it out. So my principal wrote me a letter of recommendation, which was so cool. Just dude's really, really pulling for me, it sounded like. So I sent it in to only 2 schools, and 1 school hired me. So I was an art teacher, and what I did is that was my main function. But then when I was at the school and setting up that year, I helped out in drama. I went and talked to the drama teacher. Said, yeah, if you want to help out, that would be great. So we could help you on that. So I went and started helping the younger kids in middle school. So this was a middle school. Started helping them out and doing drama, and they also had music. So it was like singing musicals. So I was helping them there. And then I took on 4 or 5 other different things like football, assistant coaching, track, drove the girls around. And then they couldn't find a soccer coach for the females because they weren't winning anything. So I was like, who wants this job? I'll take it. So I took a job. It was money. I mean, it was extra supplemental money on top of that to go and teach these 10 or 12 young ladies soccer. I mean, I took soccer. My dad coached it when we were little league team. And so I said, I know the fundamentals. I can do it. So not even having a CDL, I could drive a little milk carton bus, a little small half bus, a little shorty thing. And I'm like, okay. So we threw all those on with a couple cheerleaders, and we would go to all these different events. We won 1 game. I mean, but I was so down, but I mean, they would score, they just wouldn't win. But I mean, it was really tough to try to keep those girls' spirits up. But I was like, I learned a lot, and they just felt like nobody wanted to coach it, and you took it on. I was like, hey, I'm always up for a challenge. So I was like, you girls got this. So, but that kind of burned me out over a year and almost a little over a half.
Yeah,
I did things with projects and teaching kids singing. They loved it. They said so much energy I had. They were just like, dude, where do you get it from? I said, natural right now. I wasn't drinking coffee back then, but
man,
I really enjoyed that. And that got me into the spirit of wanting to do that. But then I also wanted to get back to my roots besides just teaching. I did love teaching. But then I was like, I need to get back into my own music stuff, and my videos and cameras were really starting to come down to where you can afford it. And I started seeing some really nice Sony cameras and Canon cameras. And these were video cameras, like 8 millimeter on their. Then they had high 8, then they had a digital high 8, and then I was like, dude, some of these cameras now can even shoot 24 frames per second digitally. I'm like,
right.
It is coming to term. This is what I want to learn. So I looked around when I was still teaching and found a college up here. It was called, I think it was School of Communicational Arts back then. It's changed like 4 different names, like the Digital Circus, and then it's like 4 or 5 other different names. And I was like, well, maybe I could. I looked into it. They said you could come to night school and learn 3D animation, with all these, Maya, Softimage, 3D Studio
Wow.
Max. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, because I was teaching kids like geometry and everything else with art in a certain degree with that, and it was a middle school was an art school, so you had to blend everything into one type of thing for everybody, so it wasn't separated. So I was like, maybe I could make a course for like the 8th graders and teach them 3D animation. That was my kind of plot. So I went for like 4 or 5 months to night school at School of Communication Arts, learning 3D animation, 3D Studio Max and Maya, and then learning how to basically make movies, because you're doing them in 3D, but you have to have a story. So from that, I said, maybe I can implement it. So I talked to the principal about getting a 3D course to build computer stuff. He said, why would you do that? I said, because that's math. You can build everything into creativity with art, designing, math, quadrants, geometry. Everything goes into that when you're making 3D stuff and coding. So I was like, oh, the kids were like excited because they were already playing PlayStation games. And then, in the evenings, if they did well in my class, for some of the kids to come get picked up after school, I'm like, if you do a good job, you can come by and I'll bring my PlayStation up here and you guys can try to beat Mr. Wynn at some of these games, these driving games or whatever. And they were like, that's cool. So I had about 6 or 7 after class coming in during the week, and they did well. And they were playing me on the PlayStation. Of course, they beat me. But once or twice, I took the little shark back then. It had all the codes and stuff. I got in there, kind of sneaked it in, so I win 1 or 2. But it was getting those guys excited, and they were so looking forward to getting implementation. I wrote a grant. I had a grant writer with a friend of mine, and she always got grants. So I took her. I was like, hey, what's the worst that could happen? Now with me, we wrote a grant, and we got the grant.
Wow.
Nobody, and it was like a $200,000 grant.
Wow.
Get computers and all this other good stuff, excitement and everything. And I was looking at these computers because back then they had those nice, expensive $20,000 computers. The SG came out of like Silicon Valley. But of course now we know you can get these for a fraction of the cost nowadays. But I looked into getting some other computers built from like what they were using at the school I was going, School of Communication Arts at night, to learn that. And I said, well, let's use that money to build, a seat of 10 or 12 computers. And that can be like a prerequisite in 7th grade, get it out of the way. And then in the 8th graders, I can teach them a 3D animation, make your own video game deal. The kids love that idea for the coming up for the 2nd year.
Right. Right.
And was out with the track team later on, like in April into May, we were out, and for that first 6 months of the school year, IBM had donated a bunch of computers to the school, and I helped all the other IT guys with some help, helping them hook up all those other computers. They weren't the fastest things in the world, but they were things that they could do all the work that they needed to for, surfing and all that stuff, and doing their regular work. No animation stuff. But when we were out on the track meet on the way back, like the end of April, came back and there was a huge fire going on at the school. I was like, dude, that's a huge bonfire. No, it was the building, the older building that had all those computers in it, the old wing, and there's something that had sparked a little fire at one end, and it just engulfed that entire building all the way down. So they lost that entire building, lost all the computers and everything that was put into that building, the IBM stuff. So
I got to tell people why I'm smirking, because I already know this story. So it doesn't look like I'm a maniac or whatever. But anyway, now you're going to have to finish it, because
this story broke my heart, because that's what got me out of teaching.
It's so horrible, but it's so funny. Like, it's terrible.
Man, terrible, man. I had all these hopes and everything going on, and I was like, man, I'm going to love being a teacher. And then when that happened, I came back in, and
you still there?
I had a little pop-up.
Oh, a little notification, yeah.
But so it just broke my heart, because the principal called me in later the next day, because the kids were like, oh my God, our school's on fire. But once they came back the next day, the principal called me and said, Brian, we've lost everything, and I am the principal here, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to have to allocate that money, that grant that was given to you for $200,000, to help replace those computers and everything else that we just don't have right now, along with things in the building. And I'm sorry, but I do have the right to do that, and I'm going to have to do that. I apologize, but this is much more important. And I looked at that, I was like, wow, okay then. Well, that just killed my heart for wanting to teach when things
Yeah.
were almost 2 years in. So I was like, man, I understand where you're losing money. The teachers aren't, because I was funding stuff out of my pocket like every teacher does to make things cool and buy things that they weren't giving to us teachers to create for art. So this was something that was just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
So that year, I resigned. I stepped down, and I went into graphics and everything else. So I went into a sign company where they needed a graphic designer and layout. And I said, well, this is something cool. This is in my, I know how to do graphics and layouts, and this is going to be for advertising. I thought I'd get my feet wet and try to get into what my degree was and so forth in that fashion. But I still loved animation, and it took a little while after that. But that's what got me out of teaching, moving back into the realm of wanting to get into film and music videos and everything else. So while I was working at that little place, the little graphic place, a gentleman came in from California, and he had moved up here. He was with West Coast Motion Pictures, and he had a little place that he moved up here, and they were doing a lot of music stuff. He was really involved with the Motown. His son actually worked with Barry Gordy, and he was an ex-football player that ended up getting hurt, got out of football, and he lived in Miami, and he started doing sales for music up and down the East Coast in Miami, and got real big. And then he ended up hooking up with Barry Gordy when he was out in L.A.
Wow.
And they ended up starting the whole thing, and he was in 3 different large sales corporation setups. And his father, he got in touch with me, said, can anybody airbrush a backdrop? I said, I can. I do a lot of art. Big. He goes, 10 by 20. I said, 10 by 20 feet? He goes, yeah. I was like, okay, that's a lot of airbrush, but yeah, I can do that. He said it's going to be for like a Billy Blake's Tybo workout that we're going to put in the back of the gymnasium, set up with a bunch of people to work out, and we're going to end up doing this whole big setup for, self-defense and everything else. I'm like, okay. And he said, oh, by the way, he asked, do you know anybody that can run a camera? We're getting these big giant cameras that are coming. I said, well, yeah, I've got one myself, an XLR. I said, what can y'all doing? He said, well, we're renting these $100,000 cameras. I'm like, okay. And we're gonna have 3 of them. Do you know? I said, I can run one. And I'm running one for a church right now, but not that expensive. But I know how they work and what to do. He goes, well, great. I'll pay you to airbrush this big giant banner. We'll put it up the backdrop, and you can help run one of the cameras with us. We got all this funding, and we're gonna do that. I was like, that was my way in. I was like, dude. So that's what got me into getting back into doing film and live broadcasts and stuff. And I appreciate that from J.J. Wilson. I learned so much from that guy. And he had a whole big past with everything else with Motown. And he was in Earth, Wind, and Fire. Of who hasn't been in Earth, Wind, and Fire. But this was, of course, before he made it, because he was a lot older. But so many people will go into bands, as you know, and they move on and go through it. But I met a lot of folks through him. So getting back into that art stuff, that's what pushed me into it. And then from there on, I started going and doing music videos for a lot of the local bands that were local here. And I'm like, look, I got my XLR camera. I can set things up, and I can do your videos and put them together very professionally. And would you like one done? So jumping into that, I started doing that. And then I sat down and I said, let me write a script, because I was always wanting to write a movie, write a script. And I was like, didn't know what it went into it. And so I sat down and I wrote my very first script. It was something as a country singer type of deal that falls in love. And I was like, it was a romantic type of a rom-com. And I was like, let me put it down. And that was the first one I ever wrote, like 80 pages. I was like, oh, here's a beginning, middle, and end, and let's do that. And from that same thing, I did a animated thing of kangaroos. I did a full animation 3D. I wanted to see if I could put that together and sell it to the schools for educational purposes, to like everybody coming to Raleigh. These kangaroos come to Raleigh, North Carolina from Australia, and they have to go and visit the Capitol and everything else like all the kids do in 4th grade and teach education. But, I mean, they had all the buttons that you would have to create, just like anything else, and in Flash and stuff, and it was really cool. So tried to present it and get it in there, and there was just a whole bunch of problems with that, and Scholastic books and all this other stuff, because you had to patent 3 ways. I had to patent a book, I had to patent a DVD, and I also had to patent a case that put everything together. So that was an interesting learning experience, having to get all these different ISBN numbers and all that good stuff. To get it excited to them, I had to mass produce all of them myself and sell them to the schools with a buyback, and I just didn't have all that.
It's a hefty amount of work,
But I mean, that's it. I mean, everything's kind of like a, research and development all your life. You got to put things out there and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll say this real quick. Thanks not only thanks for the great memories and the laughs thus far as I've known you, thank you for your resourcefulness, um, especially in the video world, because you're just the gadget guy. Like, I've got the GVM automated track. It's right on the other side of this table. I've been doing all these podcasts, still haven't had time to use it for the next music video, which is mind boggling to me. I got to break it out this week, but yeah, just like you're the guy who's just like you, you're always cutting edge. You're always checking out new gear. I commend you for that.
Yeah, I do love that because, like everything changes month to month nowadays with
Yeah,
technology. And it's always all the apps, all these creative people, anything to make things in life easier for you, especially nowadays. Like, you don't need the whole crew. You used to need a huge crew. I mean, it's still good to have
yeah,
a crew. But if you're stuck with just yourself and you learn and you can go off these gadgets, you're like, dude, how'd you get all these things? Then all that technology and that smarts that you got, that is up to you to actually put it to good use. So all the new gadgets and technology that you learn from other people, or you create your DIYs, starting off at the beginning until you get all that good funding that you can put into your stuff, you figure out what works. And that's the most exciting part when you get into that. Because
well,
then
let me ask you this while we're still on this topic, which will kind of migrate more into future plans for you, obviously, which is you got a lot of exciting things going on, and I want to cover that real quick. Okay, so with what's happening right now with COVID, I mean, obviously we've been trying to plan this interview for months and it just didn't happen because of all the scheduling. Now it's really difficult, but in a way it's really easy because everybody's freed up. There's more of there's this renaissance of Zoom interviews or Zoom meetings or virtual meetings. And my question for you is the new things that you have going on. How like what's inspiring you to keep moving forward and keep moving in this direction of innovation? And what do you have new coming up? How has this changed kind of what you had in store for yourself in the next year or two? Because it's throwing a monkey wrench in for everybody.
it is. You're right. So yes, with all the stuff I had going up, I was working for about a year trying to get things together,
Right.
and now I actually have actually put it out. That was the tough. Like, now we've got so many things going on. When am I going to have time to sit down and just start putting the things up that's already been done and ready to roll? Because I'm still doing stuff on top of
Yeah.
that. So it was just like, gosh, how do you schedule into it? And it's also a little bit of a learning curve because there's a lot of new things that would take you hours, days, weeks to
Huge.
now that you can now with certain apps and links, you can link them all together and just make it a one-time deal so you don't have to end up spreading out so long, which is mind-boggling. But once you find that little niche, then that's what you can do. And a lot of these new platforms, which everybody's getting used to now, you're able to go ahead and put those individual niches down by, so the people that want to tune in to watch, well, they love your singing, or they love your cooking, or they love, oh God, staying in shape. And what do you do to lose 60, 70 pounds? What did you do? What kind of supplements are you on? What did you do?
That
What did you
boom
quit?
boom power.
Boom power. I was like, dude, I'm on 65 pounds. I was like, man, what did you do?
Boom
Just stop it.
boom.
Oh, I went vegan. And he says, how did that work out? I said, well, you saw how it worked out. Now I'm starting to go back because I don't want to give up everything for good stuff, but it is it's a healthy, it's a different lifestyle.
Right.
But with the music and the animation coming up here for the future, we are in that type of new transition of what's going on out there. And
Yeah.
we're not 100% know exactly what's going to take place in the next couple months to the next year. So go ahead and letting people know who you are, because right now, if everybody's locked in their house, who do you know who is who? So trying to go ahead and get yourself out there now, you've got the biggest world's audience out there just waiting to see it. And it
Right.
could be, you don't have to be the big celebrity out there playing the sports, or the big musicians, or the little musicians that are trying to come up. They're all putting on great shows, and you get to see their talent and go, wow, I love the way their voice sounds, or I love the way they play, or what they wrote. This is good. We're getting that out there. But for the animation and everything else with the movies and so forth, you can still do those at home or in just my good photographer friends now are still being able to be separated and still take, senior portraits or family portraits from afar. Just kind of have to be careful. But coming up, there's a lot of compositing, and that's the biggest thing right now, because there's a lot of people. Everybody can be a photographer with their phones or the cameras they buy. It doesn't matter what you do, but it's the final product that people are going to be looking for. Something different is what people are going to want to get. So the composites are almost like doing your own little painting. I still got to do my little painting over there with Kenny Rogers, because, like I said, it's been almost 12 years since I've done a painting or done some sketching and everything else in the past a year ago or so, because I had a little bit of a muse there, only you know about, some other folks. But now things are trying to get back into putting things out there so they can recognize me, because I want to advertise all the things that I can do. Yeah. And then I'm requesting me to sing certain songs, me to do a certain painting for their graduating seniors, as well as, can you do a music video when this thing kind of comes over? Or passes by, we can get back out there. And I've already started I'm not taking a deposit, but I'm setting things up for them so that when things do clear up, that we can get out there and do these things for them and get things done there. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm lining up, right. But just get people to know who you are and not be afraid to get out there nowadays, because that's the toughest thing, is being afraid when you put yourself out there. Because there's going to be a lot of online businesses that hadn't started up that are going to be started, because like you said, we just don't really know what this future is going to be. But
the competition. Yeah.
Correct. The thing is I've, like in the Bible, I've built my ark. I've got all the stuff I would need. I don't really need anything else, but work with people, other talent, teach other folks. And whether you want to call it a life coaching type of deal or not, it's you life coach for almost anything. It's just like a coach for singing, drawing, art, wine and painting, music, teaching lessons, learning how to write. Sitting down doing stuff. That's still coaching. It's like teaching, just like what they call influencers now.
Right.
So if I'm an influencer, it means you're a salesperson, because you're showing people what you can do, how you
you're ambassading a product, or
So they put in a nice little saying like, let's be an influencer, which means, I don't like the word salesperson, but that's what an influencer is to a degree. So
no, that's an interesting perspective on it. Well, future plans for you, and just some thoughts on COVID. I mean, we've been touching on this, but 5-10 years down the road, what do you, regardless of this, like, what do you really see for yourself? Because you've already done quite a bit, but I'm just curious to see.
Quite a bit, and a lot still on the way. So getting older, of course, a lot of us do. So, feeling a little bit about what have I not accomplished? What do I want to do? So it's kind of a little bit of like your bucket list. It's like, hey, let's get it in. Let's have fun. Say you did it. That's the biggest thing. Just like me doing this EP album, I've always wanted to do one. So I'm going to go ahead and just do it and get it out there. At least, like I said, at the end of the day, I did it. I had fun. Whatever happens with it, happens with it. There's no high expectations except to get it done, have fun, and hope it was a good product and people can pat it back and anything changes from there. It's great. But the same with the movies and the other things I've got going on, and see how that works. Still put together the things ourselves, because we don't need that. You can make your own project, and then you can take it to market and you let other people take a look at it nowadays. There's a lot of that I've seen going on here, especially with the section of the one that I just ended up watching, which I liked, which was the new Christian movie that's out there with Jeremy. Is it the same one from Damico? I can't even think of it. It took a brain fart, but the interesting thing with them is this COVID thing hit a week after they came out in the theaters. And then they were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? So they ended up taking it online and doing everything with the churches and so forth. I still believe. There it is. It hit.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. I love that concept. And I feel like it teaches you a lesson that you got to still have faith.
That just came out.
It did. It just.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's a great movie. It's worth watching. You can watch it from anywhere from $5 to $20 right now, I believe, on any of the streaming platforms. They're trying to get it in more areas. I know a lot of churches are trying to get it and show it up on billboards as in like a drive-in theater type events. What they're doing now. So that's kind of coming back, which is good for the movies. You can stay separated in your vehicles and go up and watch it on a drive-through and set up in that type of fashion to keep the movie stuff going. But it's a wide open market. What's been happening and what's going into now. So a lot of things, as long as we can keep the internet up and running and these things for these platforms, and everybody paying what
Yeah,
they
if the
want.
internet goes down, that'll be real interesting.
So then you're really stuck with what you were born with and what you worked on with your skills. So if I have to go back and hand paint and everything else like they did back in the Renaissance period, so I'm doing those. I'm getting commissioned to do the paintings. Like this one's gonna be $2,000. This one's $5,000. I'm gonna paint your whole family portrait, 24 by 48, hang it up. Or these things that you can do, just by your own God-given talents. When you're out there singing and people are putting money in your hat or whatever, these are things, or playing instruments. So these are things that are still there that you learn as a trade, or you're going to help somebody in a habitat.
That's pretty interesting. I don't think that's even come up yet on this show as far as what happens if the internet were to go out.
Because it is a big one. They own that right now. So,
right, and in a way, I mean, content creation gone. Essentially, I mean, to a certain degree.
Right, it's about putting you out so that then you would actually become local. Unless you're driving from state to state, like my truck with my billboard I built, and put in the back of the truck with my banners and advertising on the back, where they have that, they can call you on a phone number, or hope the phone still works. But then that way they can get in touch with you, and you guys can meet up, and that way you can plan on what it is that you would be able to do for them, whether it's cutting grass or building a house or bathrooms or painting or drawing or whatever you guys want to sell, even filming, because your cameras, as long as you can still have power and charge them, you can still do all the filming and editing. It's just they're the ones that figure out where to put it once it comes up. But these are things that we can still do to learning these trades and be able to share them. But that is another big thing. What happens if things go down? That's pretty scary right there, because then what kind of outreach will we have if we're still stuck in the same scenario?
Right.
Out, we can't mingle, we can't go around and whatever, then we are kind of very much isolated where we're at. So that's another thing to kind of not be scared of, but be kind of prepared.
Yeah, no, it's I never really thought about. I mean, if I did think about it, I didn't give it much time and thought, but just I don't know, just like for some reason this interview, I was like, wait a minute, that actually could happen.
Correct. So charge all your stuff up. Well, if you got like pianos or guitars or something that you can learn and you can play, make sure you either download some videos that you can watch for yourself or buy a DVD or whatever, and you can play that over and over if the nets and stuff go down. As long as you've got something that you can garden, go out and plant some stuff.
Yeah, we're doing it over here.
But if it makes you happy, and these are things that you can use later if you learn to cook. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
For a pit. These are things that
Dude, I found out I can make pizza.
Hey!
Like pretty good, too.
You live forever.
Well, let me, as we kind of wrap up here, and thanks again so much for your time. Anything that we can push as far as content handles and names of some of the new content that you've got coming out. You've got some new Instagram accounts, YouTube accounts. Just tell everybody real quick what those are, and then we'll have it in the description boxes for you.
Not a problem. Basically, I've got 7 of them right now, with the 8th one that I've already got on the way. So just trying to put things out there for people to kind of take a look at. One over my shoulder basically is the Brian Wynn Cooking Show, and that's on everything right now.
Cool.
Brian Wynn on YouTube and on Twitter, as well as on Instagram and my side Facebook page. And I'm getting a Wix page up, so I'll have to get that to you so you can log it on. I'll do a Wix for each one of the 8 things so people can take a look at it as a little website.
Luckily, this will be out in a couple of weeks, so you got. I've got like 15 that are coming out before. It's been crazy, backlined like crazy over here. You got some time to get it together.
So all these things will be coming up for my singing, for the movies that I've got coming out and working on.
Sure.
The workout, got the Wynn gym down there doing the workout, trying to stay healthy. I'll promote some of this stuff like, Marky Mark's stuff and everything else, performance. Yeah. So I've got some of that stuff. So I'm giving that, and might even be a person to talk about that and, rep them as well. So that I've been in talks with that as well with the owner, Tom. Tom's charge of all that and Wahlburgers. So, but we'll see. otherwise, I'll get all these things that you guys can go and check out as well. And if you want to look me up, hopefully I'll be out there a lot so y'all can see this face a lot. We'll see. If not, then I'm not doing my job.
Real quick, can you just there's like a couple of things I want to do here, but just can you tell the cornfield story? Can you just tell where Boom Boom came from for those of us that are, on Instagram and Facebook and are like, what the hell are these people talking about?
Right. So I got my Boom Boom nickname that we always throw out, Boom Boom, all the time. So back in 2016, I got with Evelyn Putman and everything else, and I had written
Shout out to Evelyn.
Shout out to Evelyn. Gotta have Evelyn. She's in everything, man.
Evelyn's Queen Bee.
It's Queen Bee.
Queen Bee.
Big E in the house. You can't get nothing done without. So that's a good thing. She's all over the place. So I called her up. She said, Brian, man, we got to work together. I'm like, okay, well, I've just written the script with these two young guys that graduated ECU, and they're country singers and church guys, and they just got picked up to go and sing at the 2016 Country Fest down in Myrtle Beach and opened up for basically it was Tim McGraw and Florida Georgia Line. And I was like, yeah, I wrote this script and they ended up doing this contest and won. And now I would get to go down to Myrtle Beach and film behind the scenes of them doing this. I'm like, you couldn't put this together because the end of the movie and all that was supposed to be that. So I got with her and she said, let's do this. So she was my main makeup artist and she brought some other folks in to help out. And we were filming, and I looked at Smithfield, North Carolina, and I looked at Benson, North Carolina. And I ended up deciding to go to Benson because I thought Benson was a cool little town and train tracks that ran through it. And it was like an old Western town. And a lot of stuff had kind of fallen to the wayside. So it was a great spot for us to film in. So we would go down there and we'd film on the weekends. We'd film in the evenings because everything shut down at 5 o'clock and it was desolate. So we could shoot everything we wanted there. So one, I think it was a Friday night, we were going down there and they were calling for these big storms to come in around midnight. And I was like, well, let's get down there around 6 and we'll start shooting and try to wrap everything up by like 11 o'clock and then get out of Dodge. So we won't run into all those storms. Because it's supposed to be hail and tornadoes and twisters. I'm like, really? It looks so beautiful out right now, son. I wouldn't think it coming. So we all packed up and we took our 5 vehicles down to Benson to set up our shots, got the Jeep all set, the cameras, the generators, and everything else. And so it was kind of cool because it was starting to get dark. This is, kind of like back before Christmas and everything else. And so the daylight savings time wasn't there. So and it was dark out, complete black. So we had to get at least a shot in the twilight series. So as the light's going down, we have to get that magic hour shot. So
yeah, golden whatever.
Stuff up in the back with the camera, and we had the Jeep driving, and we were filming everything else coming back and forth, doing a couple shots. And of course, we had the whole police force with us because they knew we were shooting downtown. So they always gave us a couple cops to come with us to make sure on the set nothing was happening or anything, no problems. Right. We were down there to shoot, and the weather reports kept popping up saying, hey, this weather might be coming in a little sooner than expected. I'm like, no, not in North Carolina. They never get the weather wrong. I was like, okay, so we're sitting there shooting, and I'm dressed up in my outfit because I'm an actor in it as well. So not only am I helping shoot, but also I'm in the shots. So I was dressed as a trooper, and we were setting up the shot, and Evelyn had just done the makeup for about an hour, and everything was running good. She was helping out, and all of a sudden we hear this thunder in the distance, and boom, like, oh, wait a minute. It's only like 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, and I'm looking around for my other actors in between our setup takes, and they're running around in the field playing Pokemon or whatever. I mean, this was where the heck are the actors? Like, oh, I think I found Pikachu, and they're like in the cornfield, running around out there in the cornfield. I'm like, y'all guys, get back over here on set. We're gonna get some rain, Brian. I said, well, they said at midnight, but it's like almost 9 o'clock. There's no way we're gonna get any rain. So the boys finally pack up and they get their stuff and I'm like, put the Pikachu game away. So the guys got back in their Jeep and we're all set up. We start acting, and after 30 minutes goes by, we get some good shots. Evelyn's coming over. It's like, Brian, my radar says it's getting dark. I said, it's been dark. And she goes, no, I'm talking about the clouds, and we got some stuff coming in. It says right here.
Why do I hear her voice right now, like saying this? Like, Brian, we got to go, Brian. Like,
like we're gonna wrap at 11, man. We're gonna be out of here. We're gonna miss it. And all of a sudden, boom! I'm like, oh my goodness! It's like quarter to 10, and all of a sudden I'm like, no. We still got 2 more scenes to shoot, and all of a sudden I'm
You
like,
still keep going.
oh, and I'm like, I'm looking up. And
So committed.
The wind is picking up, and the trees.
Going,
and the
start swaying.
I'm like, oh God. I'm like, no. This can't be happening. The wind is really picking up. So it's hard to get the sound, even though I'm loud. But I mean, we got the boom mics in the car, and Evelyn's like, I'm going to start packing up the makeup. I'm like, okay. No more touch-ups of makeup. We got 2 more scenes. Go ahead and log it all up. So she's packing her truck up with all the stuff, her suitcases, and getting it up, and we're pulling the chairs up. The wind is really whipping through right now. So I'm kind of holding on my hat, and the breeze is going, and I'm like, woo, man, it's almost 10 o'clock. And I was like, and Evelyn's like, I think it's going to be here a couple hours early. I was like, whoa, okay, it's 10 o'clock almost. And then, boom, all of a sudden there's a lightning bolt strike in the background. You just see it way on the other side of town from a distance. I'm like, it might be coming in a little early there, Evelyn. And she's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, and we got the generator out because it's dark, and we got the lights up. And then all of a sudden, the 2 cops that were sitting there blocking the area watching us that were drinking coffee, they're like, oh, we got a call. I was like, a call? I said, yeah, there's a shooting or something going on the other end of town. Y'all, we got to take off. Y'all, you guys okay? I'm like, yeah, we're going to be probably packing up here in a little bit to get on out of here. He says, well, good job tonight, guys. If you need us, you know our number. We got our phones. Like, we got to go. And all of a sudden, woo, flip the lights, and they were out of there. So we were left out there in the cornfield in the dark with the lights on from the generator, and the wind is whipping through, and I was like, it's like a horror movie just starting up.
Right.
I'm like, and all of a sudden you start to feel some sprinkles. And I'm like, oh, we can't ruin the equipment. I didn't bring all the bags to cover all the cameras. So, I mean, it was, we're planning on being out of there. So the guy's like, you think we can get this last scene in? I said, yes, the show must go on. Let's do this. And Evelyn's like, y'all better hurry up. And I'm like, okay, she goes, y'all need to close it. Don't we have to put everything in the truck, Brad? I said, yeah, I got the generators running the lights right now. We got 5 sets of lights lighting up everything. And all of a sudden, one set of lights fall over into the cornfield because of the breeze. And I had like 4 sandbags on. I was like, that's a strong gust. Boom. I was like, I hope it didn't break anything. It's like, no, okay, that's a wrap, Brian. We got to call it. I'm like, we got one more. Brian, all of a sudden, here comes some big pellets of rain starting. I'm like, okay, everybody, quick. Everybody go and unplug the lights. I was like, well, don't leave one up because otherwise we're in the dark. We won't be able to see anything. So we had 5 lights. We took down all 4 and left one up, so we knew where everything was at. The generator's still going, still hot. You're supposed to let it cool down.
Yeah.
And the wind is really whipping. You can hear things whistling, and lightning's coming. It's just like boom! All of a sudden, everybody light up, and we didn't need the lights when it lit up because it lit up the whole field. I'm like, hey! I'm like, dude, this is freaky. And I was like. And they said, they said there's a tornado. There's a tornado watch right now. I was like, where? Coming toward us in Benson. I'm like, no, really? I said, we got to get this thing on camera. We got to get this stuff shot. And I was like, no, get that in the truck. We got to get out of here.
Boom!
This is going to be like Twister the movie, man. I mean,
so that story, I actually got more details this time around than when we were having dinner after the shoot.
Right.
Because I thought there was just one boom at the end, but no, this is like which actually makes it funnier because you just kept going. Because I thought it was just like one big one. It was like, oh, we got to go.
I'm like, who knows how we're going to match this footage when we come back?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Well, that's another thing too, is like, you've got the talent on location, you've got everything set up. Dude, film is just such a pain in the ass, man.
It shot like 3 hours worth of stuff, and Evelyn's done the makeup, and I'm like,
yeah,
be done with that scene. So
right.
Everybody was throwing stuff in the back of the truck. Here, put it, we don't have time to put it in the bags, just throw it in. I'm like, we're throwing stuff everywhere. I was like, be careful, don't break stuff. This is all the equipment. And I'm like, and they're shoving it all in the truck, putting some in theirs. And all of a sudden we hear this crack, bam, and it hits a tree in the background. You just see like a spark light up the back of a tree.
And that's it. That was the end.
And the power goes out to all those other vehicle things. I'm back. So
just like your screen.
Beautiful things. You're talking about it happens. So I'm like, that's weird stuff for me because this stuff really does happen. Nobody believes it, but that's it. And
boom!
all of a sudden, boom, it lit up the whole field again. We cut out the generator because we can at least see it every time the lightning strikes, it lights up everything. You can see everything. So I'm like, go ahead, take it.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Gigantic generator up and stick it in the back of my truck. It's like, you good? I'm like, yeah. I don't know how we're going to cover it because it's going to get wet. So I put it in there. We slap it up. We got everything all on again. The guys are still in all their outfits. The makeup's running on everybody. So it's just like, let's go. Evelyn's like, I don't think we're going to make it, Brian. It's starting to hail. And so now we're getting hail coming down. I mean, pellets of hail starting to go down. It's bouncing off the street, and then lightning bolt comes again, and boom, like right next to us in the field, a big old giant boat. I'm like, I said, I think we found Pikachu. Because he, so we went Pikachu. We all got in our vehicles, and we all turned around, all 5 vehicles, backing up and getting out of there because we had them off of the road so that we, they weren't in the shot. So we're out in the field, the other part of the field. I'm like, oh my God. So we're all coming out. One guy about to get stuck, his tire spinning. I'm like, oh, not in the mud. Here we go. So we finally get on the road, and it is like the movie, Twister. All those vehicles on the road, and we're headed toward downtown, where all the lights had just been blown out from the big strike. 10 minutes before that.
Right.
Town, and here comes the Twister. I mean, the tornado, whatever's coming through, the strong gusts, the 70-mile-an-hour winds, just blowing stuff off the roofs and everything else. And me and Evelyn and the guys, we all pull up underneath an overhang in downtown just to beat all that wind, rain, the hail, all that good stuff, so that, we didn't get our vehicles all dipping all to hell. So
what a fiasco.
We are sitting there, you can't see nothing because of how hard everything's coming down. That thing's blowing. There's no visibility. And we're sitting there all just with our little flashers or our lights on in the town. And we wait there for like 15, 20 minutes till the whole thing blows over. Yeah. After that, still lightning, still thunder, but all that stuff passed and went. And then we all guys like, I think it's good. I think we're okay. We can go now. I was like, do you believe it just happened? I'm like, that was insane. So
that's
that was
crazy.
Boom, boom moment.
Boom, boom. Hey, listen. So I've got. Speaking of boom, boom, we're going to do a little boom, boom back and forth with the shootout round, which I'm sure you're acquainted with. I've got some industry-related verbs or nouns or whatever. Doesn't, just words in general. And I'll say a word. You just fire a word right back, and we'll see what happens. No right or wrong answers. All right. So, camera.
Equipment.
Lights.
Action.
Mic.
Step up to it and then drop
it. Let's see. Sound.
What a beautiful noise.
Guitar.
Rock solid. Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, hell yeah. Country.
Music all the way.
CGI.
Every day of my life.
Social media.
Platform.
Pizza.
The thing that not keeps me skinny.
Tacos.
Every single Tuesday night.
Woo! I got one more for you.
Right.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah! All right, so last question for you. And by the way, thanks so much, man. This was a long time coming, and really enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the time.
Good time.
If you could go back, you probably already know this question because you've seen the show. If you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, as advice, what would you tell him?
15 years old, don't do anything different what you got coming up here for the future, because it's got you this far, and hopefully it keeps you going. So just do what you do. Don't look back, and continue on and just do greatness, because that's what life's about, being great.
And you will someday meet Pikachu in a cornfield.
When I ride that lightning, that's Metallica. I'm going to ride the lightning, and I'm going to find Pikachu.
All right, man. This is great. Brian Wynn, ladies and gentlemen. My hair is all messed up from all this laughing. Good stuff.
This is
Dude, I miss being out in random Domino's parking lots at 1 a.m. after set, just like tailgating, doing the Bojangles thing. I'm looking forward to it once the world kind of gets back to semi-normal.
Yes, we'll get back to more philosophizing when that happens.
Yeah. But good stuff, man. I'm really excited about the new things you got coming up, and again, really inspired by your attitude and positivity in life. Check out Brian's stuff in the description box below or to the sides. You guys have been watching and listening to the Jason Damico show. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Usually I say peace at the end, but we're going to say ba-boom!
Boom, Jason!
Boom, boom!
Hold it. Gotta go.
It's time to go. Court swaying.
You're going Pikachu. My unicorn.
Peace.